Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy that you guys stopped by today. So today we're talking about something a little bit different. This is a little bit more of a serious subject. You guys already know that I told you guys before I talk about any and everything on this channel, whatever I feel like talking about. And I just have some things that I wrote that I just feel like just need to be said. And so I hope that you guys will bear with me and just listen to, what I have to say. I'm just going to be reading what I wrote from my laptop. And just to let you guys know, sometimes when I look down, this right eye right here jumps around. So you've been warned about that. But again, I just wanted to share some things with you guys, and I hope you can enjoy it. Okay, here we go. Everything that I'm about to say is coming from a place of love and respect. This is not a speech about white people. It is about us. Every time I hear an African American person refer to another African American, brown or black person as a nigger, my heart aches. I can no longer accept this as normal and just fall in line. There has been too much bloodshed, disrespect, sweat, death, and tears behind that name to accept it as normal. We as people need to change. The time is now. We can do better. We can be better. If we want to change the world, we must first start with ourselves. I am so proud to be an African American woman. You know, my brown skin is packed with melanin that protects me from the sun's ultraviolet rays, and the shade of my skin gives me a beautiful tan all year round. No tanning beds for me, okay? I was born like this. There are so many African American women and men that I admire and respect. Some that are still here, some who have passed on, like Frederick Douglass, Harriet Jacobs, Martin Luther King Jr., Al Sharpton, Oprah, Barack and Michelle Obama, Bree Newsom, Shonda Rhimes, Tabitha Brown. I can go on and on and on. These people have inspired change and insurmountable courage. I see so many brown people on YouTube and Instagram doing their thing, displaying their talents and inspiring the rest of us. Many of them, like Jackie Ina, Beautiful Brown Baby Doll, Dr. Nina, Be Love, and so many others. There are so many successful black people here on YouTube and other platforms, and I am so happy to see it. When I see black men fully engaged in raising and taking care of their children and treating his wife like the gentle flower that she is, my heart leaps for joy. When I see the pictures from the daddy-daughter dances with the little brown girls all dressed up, holding their father's hand, I want to cry each time. I love it. I've seen parents in the black community sacrifice so their children can go to the best schools. They invest in their children and they deny themselves to help their children achieve their dreams. They nurture and encourage their children to reach for the stars and never give up. They do whatever they have to do to let their children know that they are in their corner, fighting for them. There is good in our communities, and I see it all the time. There are so many things to celebrate in a black community. We have come a long way. Brands like Sephora, Ulta, and Target are really showcasing black-owned brands and using their platforms to ensure these brands are recognized. Last year, I saw that JCPenney had a whole section of Juneteenth clothing. I was so happy to see that. If we are unified, we can make things happen. We have to stick together and lift up and encourage one another to be the best possible version of ourselves that we can be. We need each other. Again, we have come a long way, but we still have very, very far to go. Sometimes we just need a little nudge to get us moving in the right direction. I do believe that if we keep moving forward, we will continue to see progress. There is a gross injustice, however, that I see often in the black community as well that must be addressed. In my humble opinion, there's no difference between the word Nigger and Nigga. Changing the spelling of the word does not change the meaning for me. The word was born out of hatred, ignorance, immorality, oppression, and racial injustice. To say that we, African Americans, will change the spelling of this word to refer to our family and friends is an issue that we need to take a closer look at. I know we have all heard the saying, putting lipstick on a pig doesn't make it pretty. There's no way to make the use of this word pretty by anyone. When you call me a nigger, you are saying that you agree that I am uneducated, worthless, an animal, a thing, incompetent, a slave. That's what they thought of us, right? And unfortunately, some still do today. There is a racist stereotype against Black people that may never go away. And that's the sad reality. How can a word born out of hate mean love? I am a firm believer in that things can be turned around and used for something good, but this is something different. We see it on the news and social media all the time. Every time the word is used to refer to us by another race, it is never good. Just like Frederick Douglass asked himself as a young man, why am I a slave? You can read the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass by Frederick Douglass. This question set his life on a course that helped change the world. So we have to ask ourselves, why is this acceptable? Imagine that we were never given the name. Imagine that the word nigger never existed. This is an opportunity for us to think for ourselves, which we were never encouraged to do as slaves. If the word never existed or the word was never given to us, what then would you call your brother, sister, friend, or child? You would have no choice but to call them something else or to simply call them by their name. To continue to use the name is a way to continue to allow them, and when I say them, I mean those who think they are superior and think that we are animals. It is a way for them to control the narrative. I hear brown mothers calling their brown sons and daughters niggers. I regret that these little children ever have to hear this ugly word and learn it. It breaks my heart. The world has enough evil and hatred to share with our children. Why give them a name with such a negative connotation? Why impress that on their little undeveloped brains? Children are calling each other nigger. Babies are learning this ugly word from their parents, white and black. When does it stop? When do we stop passing this word down from generation to generation? It's almost like a disease that's passed down from generation to generation that we just can't get rid of. If you notice that everyone in your family was being born with cancer, wouldn't that be serious to you? And wouldn't you try to do something about it to prevent it from continuing to happen? I would hope that you would. We need to look at this issue as being just as serious. If we will not allow ourselves to be free from this, why don't we then call every Caucasian person master? I mean, isn't that what we were required to call them? That's the name that they gave themselves, right? Or better yet, let's change the spelling to Massa, Massa, and call them that. Does that make it better? No, it doesn't. I don't know about you, but I don't hear any Caucasian people walking around calling each other master. But I bet you they hear us all the time calling each other nigger. Don't get me wrong, I am not naive in any way. I know that this word will never be completely erased from the world. Unfortunately, it is an evil that is here to stay. And there was someone listening to this right now, if they made it this far, who totally disagrees with what I am saying. And that's okay. If one person decides not to ever use the word again and chooses not to teach their children this word, then I have done my job and I am satisfied with that. I do believe that we are capable of changing and giving each other the respect that we deserve. Does changing the spelling of the word change the fact that many of our ancestors died as slaves? It doesn't for me. My mind cannot fathom working for someone 6 days a week, only being allowed Sundays off, working from sunup to sundown, dressed in rags, fingers blistered, out in the scorching heat, eating scraps, then being forced to sleep on the floor of a shed like an animal, just to get up and do it again day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. Excuse me. They were beaten, hung, spat upon, raped, castrated, and murdered. Some of them were killed just trying to educate themselves and their children. Imagine being brutally beaten because you wanted your child to learn how to read. To teach your child that he or she was valuable, not a piece of property, but human, in fact, was blasphemous. A brown person learning to read and write was a huge threat to a slave owner. If you became educated to them, then you were untrainable, unable to be broken physically and mentally, because knowing how to read and write meant that you could think for yourself, and that was a no no. Being educated gives a person confidence in the ability to take control of their future and dispels that sense of inferiority. If they could keep you feeling like you were dumb and worthless, then they could control you. Men and women were abused physically and mentally on a daily basis, and there were no laws to protect them. Imagine watching your child being sold like cattle and not being able to do anything about it. I don't have any kids at this point in time in my life, but I can imagine that it would probably feel like my heart was being ripped out of my chest to see my child sold. Black people had no rights to anything for a long time, not even their name. Most slaves received the last name of their slave owners. They had no sense of lineage or belonging. Do you know what an honor it is to know your history and where you come from? To be called by the name that your parents gave you is a right that we didn't always have. If you were taken at birth, which happened all the time, you didn't even know what your last name was. Some of our ancestors died because they were tired of being called boy and nigger. They fought back and it cost them their lives. When white people or those of other races call us nigger, we get offended. Why? When we sing it all day long, because it is in so many rap songs. Your favorite rapper says it all the time. We say it to each other and we don't get offended. We say it's okay for a brown person to use the word because we know we don't mean any harm and we have the right. We own the word now. It's a term of endearment. We are the only ones who get to call each other the name. We earned it. What exactly did we earn from the name? I think I may know. We earned the right to be reminded of the brutal, unethical treatment that we received as slaves and the mistreatment that we receive in many cases today. We've seen George Floyd being murdered on camera. We've seen brown people being mistreated at Airbnbs, Starbucks, etc. There are too many names and incidences to type. I would be here all day long. There's a whole movie about Karen. It's that constant voice that tells you you are less than, nobody, nothing, and you need to stay in your place. That is what I hear and feel every time I hear the word, no matter who says it. Saying that it is a term of endearment may help some people to ignore the harsh reality and the truth about how this evil term came about. But what I must help you to see, my friend, is that it cannot be a double standard. Either you hate the word or you love it. There is no in between. The color of the person using the word does not change its meaning. We want to be seen not by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character, right? We want white people to be colorblind, but we have to be colorblind as well. Skin color does not dictate the meaning of a word. A tree is still a tree, whether a white person, brown person, Japanese person, Italian, Jewish, etc. person calls it a tree. And a nigger will always be something that is hated, mistreated, misused, and seen as an unworthy animal. During enslavement times, an African American person could not stand up against a white person in court. Our word didn't matter. We were considered unfit to associate with a white person about anything other than being his slave. Nobody cared what we had to say or what we had experienced. We were not important. Black lives absolutely did not matter. No, nobody cared what your name was or how you had been mistreated. Your word meant nothing because to them you were nothing. Excuse me. We can do a lot of damage with the things that we say, psychological damage that we are not even aware of. If you tell a little girl that she is ugly over and over again, even though when she looks in the mirror she sees beauty in her reflection, she will believe that she is indeed ugly. I wonder how many of our ancestors truly believed that they were worthless, an animal, deserving of rape, born to be sold, and unworthy of respect. It is really sad to think about. There was a lot of white on black crime in our communities. And I must be honest and say that there's a lot of black on black crime in our communities as well. You know, two of my biological brothers have been robbed and beaten by black men. I remember like it was yesterday opening the door to my oldest brother and him standing there with his face bloodied because he was jumped and robbed. I hated the men who did this to him. My father, whom I barely knew, was killed by a black man. I see the stories on the news of black men being gunned down and killed by men of their own race. I know two black men that were shot over a cell phone and almost killed by the hands of another black man. They could have lost their lives over a cell phone worth a few $100s. I know that some of you have stories as well that you can share where you or a loved one was violated by someone of your own race. There are too many forces against us already for us to be fighting and killing each other. Unity brings about change in our communities. We must stick together and fight for one another by using our resources, not fighting against each other. If we put all the negative energy that we have toward each other and turn it into something positive, we would really be doing something. Imagine a group of black and brown young men standing on a corner with their pants hanging off their behinds, drinking, smoking, singing rap songs with the word nigger, singing about money, women, clothes, and jewelry, guns, and killing. Now, imagine Martin Luther King standing there across the street watching them. What do you think he would say? I wonder how he would feel. I read the autobiography of Martin Luther King Jr. by Claiborne Carson, and in the book, King talked about how he will always try to exhibit the opposite of the black stereotype. Black people were known for wearing wrinkled clothes, so he would make sure that his clothes were pressed immaculately at all times. Black people had the reputation of always laughing and being goofy, so King would in turn always have a serious demeanor about him. You see, he didn't want to fit the profile of the typical black person, even though, don't get me wrong, I know that some people are targeted just because they're black, and that's, with no fault of their own. I get that. King, like I was saying, he wanted to be different. He wanted to be seen differently. And I hope that deep down in your heart, you want to be seen differently as well. Someone recently said to me, girl, you walk into the room and you own it. When I go out into the world, when I walk into a room, I need to be respected. I look the part, I present myself in a way that demands respect. Do I always have on a full face of makeup and dress up like I'm going to an interview? No. But you will never catch me outside with a bed scarf on my head or in pajamas in anyone's establishment ever. I could be going right around the corner to the nearest Food Line supermarket. You can bet your bottom dollar that I will be presentable. I have to show up for myself and present the best of Marlena, no matter where I'm going. I don't need to be told that I'm important or that I'm beautiful. I don't need to be popular. I don't need to fit in. But what I do need is to be respected. This is who I am, and I cannot be anything except the true to the woman that God has created me to be. Please know that what I'm sharing comes from a place of love. Our children need role models in men and women. To my brothers and fathers out there, teach your sons and the young men in the community that they are worthy of respect. Teach them to be a leader, not a follower. Teach them how to act if they get pulled over by the police. Fighting the police is not the answer. Don't give them a reason to shoot. Teach them to be respectful of authority. There is a place to fight racial injustices done by police officers, and that is in the courtroom. Even though I know that can be a little sketchy at times. With some recent past situations, I know, trust me, I know all about it. That's a whole nother story for a different time. But, teach them to be respectful of women and the people around them. I have met men who don't have the best relationship with their mom, and because of that, they mistreat women. Maybe their father wasn't around, or when your father was around, he was abusive. There are all kinds of scenarios that I'm personally too familiar with, and I can relate. Past hurts can traumatize a person and leave them wounded and unable to move forward. Perhaps some therapy is needed to change this, and there's no shame in reaching out for help. Therapy has helped me tremendously as I do this thing called life. Help these young men to understand that reading books is cool. Going to school and getting an education is the most important thing that they can do. You, my dear brother, are your daughter's example of how a man should be and how she should be treated by a man. She needs to hear from you that she is beautiful and worth it, worthy of love and respect. That is so important. You are her first man in her life to exhibit what a man should be. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be present and committed. There is nothing more attractive than a man taking care of and sacrificing for his family. We have to change the narrative of black men being absent from the home. I love shows where the black man is shown as an integral part of the family. The man is the head of the household. If you cut the head off of any living thing, the rest of the body isn't moving forward. It's impossible. And yes, there are women who have worked, gone to school, raised their children on their own. I get that. And it's definitely something to be applauded. What I am saying is that children need the full picture of what a family unit should look like. A child needs their dad as much as they need their mom. Both play a vital role. The best source of security that you can provide your child is seeing mom and dad united and working together. This is what God intended when he created Adam and Eve to be his helper. If we were completely independent of one another, God would not have created two to become one. He would just created the one, right? To my sisters and mothers out there, model what a lady should be like. Help your daughters and young women in the community to know their worth and to never settle for less than what they deserve. Help them to see that they deserve the very best that life has to offer. Encourage them to put their best selves forward and to protect their bodies, because being women makes us vulnerable. Growing up, I didn't have women in my life to encourage me on how to be a lady. I wasn't told that I was beautiful, smart, and worthy of respect. I always thought that I was ugly and that I just thought that no one would want me or like me or love me. I just felt like I'm not special at all. Little girls need to hear these things. Let them know that they are worth the wait. I do believe celibacy is the way God intended it. After becoming a Christian in 2009, I committed that part of my life to God and he totally blessed it. My husband and I dated purely, and we consummated our marriage during our honeymoon. He loves me unconditionally in a way that no man has ever loved me. This year, God willing, we'll be celebrating 12 years of marriage so far. He is the man of my dreams. Our marriage is not perfect at all, but we love God and we love each other. Every woman deserves to have this experience. A man knows what he wants. He knows when he has met the one. My husband and I were friends for about a year before we started dating in March 2010. Then he asked me to marry him in September, and we were married in December. It was that simple, okay? There is no reason for you to settle for less. You are a diamond, a precious flower, worthy of love, respect, and commitment. If no one today has told you that you are the bomb, girl, I'm here to tell you that you are the bomb, okay? When we demand better, we get better. We have to raise our standards. And for me, my standard is the Bible. You know, my husband was going to have to marry me if he wanted to be intimate with me, and that was the bottom line. I was not willing to compromise on that. I was not selling myself short. No, ma'am. We were on the same page about being pure before God, thank goodness. Otherwise, it would have made for a complicated situation. If the two of you are not on the same page, that means someone has to deny themselves and give in to the other person. Sadly, it's normally the woman that gives in when she really doesn't have to. Satan will tell you no one is going to marry you without first having to sleep with you. You have to give up the goods. Girl, I'm here to tell you that is a big, fat lie. It is not true. People are doing this more and more now than I've ever seen before. We are changing the narrative, and you can be a part of the change. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about this. So I have a love-hate relationship with social media, okay? The things it impresses on young the things that it impresses on young minds and some older minds too can be very detrimental to a person's mental health. In November 2021, The Atlantic did a piece on the effects of social media on young girls. You can Google it, The Atlantic, dangerous experienced teen girls. You can go ahead and Google it and read it. But I wasn't surprised by the context. If a young woman is constantly seeing this supposedly perfect image, an image that has been modified to make it look perfect, and she is constantly comparing that image to herself, she would be discouraged, thinking that she is not good enough, shapely enough, or pretty enough. Excuse me. So many women are trying to look like an Instagram model. It's like no one wants to be themselves. You are perfect just the way you are. Be an original. Be your own definition of beauty. You are your own trend. There is no one like you, okay? Proverbs 31:30 says that beauty is fleeting. A person can only get but so many injections and nicks and tucks before gravity takes over and wins. It's inevitable. We may be prolonged in the process, excuse me, but we cannot stop it. If all of your hope and identity is in the way that you look, you are in for a huge disappointment. There is so much more for you to offer to this world than breast, big lips, a tiny waist, and a big behind. You are so much more than that. There is so much more to life than getting likes and followers. I see men on social media, some of them famous, posting with their money, cars, women, etc. They make it seem like they have it all. But I have a secret to tell you. They don't have it all. Not at all. Have you ever seen an extremely wealthy person on social media posing with money or posting everything that they purchase? I ain't never seen Oprah posing with a bunch of $100 bills in her hand. I've never seen Melinda Gates out there showing you every time she make a purchase. I never seen Elon Musk out there posting with surrounded with all this money around him, and every time he goes out to the store to buy something. Now if you're a YouTuber who buys stuff or whatever, and that's what your audience wants to see, you making purchases and reviewing products and stuff, then that's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who are being flashy, and just trying to make themselves look a certain way. People who are extremely wealthy don't have to prove that they're wealthy. You get what I'm saying? So these people who do that are trying to prove something to you and to themselves. They want us to believe that they have it all, but deep down they are empty, lost, and confused. All of those things are just things. We come into this world with nothing and we leave with nothing. Don't fall for the lies. Money, cars, jewelry, etc. cannot do nothing for your soul. Those things cannot love you back. They are here one day and gone the next. Money cannot solve life's biggest problems. Think about the things that hurt us the most: death, sickness, broken relationships, a wayward child, etc. Money cannot fix those things. Money, beauty, sex, and things are counterfeit gods. They cannot satisfy you the way that God can. They will always leave you wanting more and more. The things that you see on social media, it's all just smoke and mirrors. Don't fall into the trap, okay? Life has so much more to offer than those things. The sky is the limit. You can do and be anything you want to be. What do you love to do? What is your passion? If there's something that you love so much that you would do it for free, capitalize on that. That may be the very thing that God uses in you to change the world around you. Pray about it and ask God to show you how you can be used in this world in a positive way that affects people's lives in a way that is good. If I live to be an elderly woman, I don't want to look back on my life with regrets because I didn't pursue my dreams. I want to live a full life. When I write, I feel alive, like I'm on top of the world. I feel rich when I'm surrounded by the people that I love and those who love me. I feel so full when I'm able to give to those who are less fortunate, and I can serve others with the talents that God has given me. Measure your life on how you serve and give to others. I am rich indeed, and it has nothing to do with the things that I have or what's in my bank account. The house that I live in and what's in my pocket does not define who I am. If you are a person who has a lot of money and things, I'm not saying that you're a bad person for having a lot of money and things. I'm sure that you worked hard for what you have. I would just hope that you will not allow those things to be your God, because for some people it is. Because at the end of the day, you cannot take anything with you to the grave. Those things should not control you in a way that if you lose them, you would die. That's no way to live. That's not life. So back to the situation at hand. Bree Newsom is my hero. If you don't know who she is, Google her. On June 27, 2015, she climbed the flagpole and removed the Confederate flag from the South Carolina State House grounds in the aftermath of the Charleston church shooting, where 9 African Americans were killed by white supremacists. I can't even imagine what was going through her mind as she was climbing that flagpole. Was she thinking, will I be killed? Will I be arrested? Which she was arrested. Will I be shot down from here? What's going to happen to me? I'm sure she maybe had some fears, but those fears didn't stop her. What she did was heroic as a Black woman, and I hope that I would have enough courage to do the same if I were placed in the same situation. Would you be Will you be courageous like Miss Newsom? Before I had a vehicle, I used to ride the bus. One day I was riding the bus and it was full of brown and black people, and a white man got on the bus and all the seats in the front of the bus were taken. So he humbly walked to the back of the bus and took a seat. Now, back in the day, we all know that if he wanted a seat in front of the bus and a colored person was sitting there, they would have had to have gotten up to give him their seat. But because of the heroic act of Rosa Parks, who sparked change in the system, this is no longer the case. I just smiled to myself when I saw this, and thank God for the women, for women like this and their bravery. We cannot depend on Congress to change everything for us. There are changes that we ourselves need to make as individuals. When we are united in a way that is positive, we bring about change, and there are many changes to come. Will you be a part of it? You are not a nigger. You never was, and you never will be. You are a masterpiece created by God. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Psalm 139:14. You are strong, vigilant, compassionate, worthy, beautiful, and desperately needed. I need you. Thank you for allowing me to share today. That's all I got. If you listen to this whole speech, I truly appreciate it. I am truly grateful. I worked hard on this. I'll leave some links to some books below. If you want to converse, we can definitely do that. But if you are disrespectful, you will be blocked. I already said, I'm not going to deal with any disrespect or anything like that. I'm open to what you have to say, but please be respectful. Thank you guys again so very, very much. Everything that I said has come from a place of love, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.